Hey guys, welcome to the JW Untold Truth channel. So another crazy year of the Jehovah Witnesses. Well, let's welcome to another year for this high control group. Let's have a look what happened to the Jehovah Witnesses around the world during 2025. So let's start with the month of January. Let's have a look what happened on this month.
Breaking news now from the state attorney general. A jury has convicted a Jehovah's Witness of sexually abusing a child. Sean Sheffer of Butler County was convicted of repeatedly raping a child, beginning when the child was 7 years old. He's going to be sentenced next month.
Well, that wasn't a good start for the Jehovah's Witnesses in 2025, but unfortunately, it doesn't get any better. Let's have a look what happened in February 2025.
A Jehovah's Witness who once held one of the highest positions in Fort Kent's Kingdom Hall spent years there sexually abusing at least 2 children.
Former elder Ernest Fines is currently in prison now for those crimes. Meanwhile, the case that put him there continues to have a ripple effect. One of the women who testified during that trial, Shannon Simondinger, is now filing her own lawsuit. She says she was sexually and physically abused for years, starting at the age of 6, by 2 elders, including Fines, and another member of the Fort Kent congregation. Well, instead of suing the perpetrators, her attorney, Michael Bigas, tells us they are going after the entire Kingdom Hall, as well as the organization's national headquarters in New York, for how they say they allegedly handled her report of the abuse there. She says the Kingdom Hall's elders, including her abusers, silenced her, enabling the abuse to continue for several more years.
And then we were told to go to the Kingdom Hall the next day and a table with the elders, including a couple of them that had assaulted me, and they made me pray for forgiveness.
Our client experienced institutional betrayal as a result of how they treated her when she brought their claims to them and asked them to stop.
The Fort Kent Kingdom Hall and New York headquarters did not respond to our requests for comment. She, by the way, hopes her case will inspire other victims to come forward and set a precedent that abuse will not be tolerated.
So the Warsaw headquarters fighting against governments to stop any disclosure of documents. That is really interesting. Well, let's have a look what happened in March 2023 regarding this issue.
Supreme Court of Canada to look at request for religious records through BC law. Jehovah's Witnesses congregations kept info from 2 former members citing confidential religious communication. The Supreme Court of Canada has agreed to hear a case about applications for access to personal information held by Jehovah's Witnesses congregations. The congregations withheld information from 2 former members who applied under BC's Personal Information Protection Act for records about themselves, on the basis it was confidential religious communication. 2 men independently asked their respective congregations for records containing their personal information in 2020, and both were told they could not see documents concerning their disassociation from the Jehovah's Witnesses. After mediation failed, an adjudicator was assigned to look into the case on behalf of the BC Information and Privacy Commissioner. The congregations argued that disclosing the disputed records, even to an adjudicator, would amount to a violation of their elders' charter rights. The adjudicator found elements of the BC Information Protection Law infringed the constitutional guarantee of freedom of religion, but concluded the breach was justified under Section 1 of the Charter. The adjudicator ordered that the information be disclosed to her so she could determine whether it had been properly withheld from the requesters. In 2024, BC Supreme Court Justice Stephen Wilson upheld the adjudicator's order requiring the Coldstream and Grand Forks congregations to disclose records concerning the ex-members' breaks with the church to the Office of the Information and Privacy Commissioner. The judge said the duties to disclose imposed by the law are meant to give British Columbians some measure of control over their personal information. The requirement to disclose information is a tool available to individuals to hold organizations accountable for the collection, use, and disclosure of personal information, Wilson wrote. It also serves as a deterrent to misuse and allows individuals some measure of control over their personal information.
So for the following month, the Kingdom Halls of the Jehovah's Witnesses have been ordered to close indefinitely on the 10th of April 2025 by the government of the Equatorial Guinea because the Jehovah's Witnesses refused to participate in the National Prayer Day for the country's peace in front of the presidential candidates among all other religions within the Equatorial Guinea. This was an insult and disrespect towards the country and the presidential government. So let's have a look what happened in this country with the Jehovah Witnesses.
The place of worship should not become a place for destabilizing conflicts or business dealings. It should be a place where good and understanding among brothers are practiced. Thank you for the Equatorial Guinea state. The reason is that the leaders of religious denominations must avoid intercorporal actions that engage in partisan proceduralism. Such actions will be censured, and the law will be applied to them. Preserving our political and religious stability, avoiding possible violent confrontations, such as those occurring in some countries due to opposition from religious groups. All religious denominations must make the effort to abide by and respect this law, so that the institutions they represent may be held accountable by the people and the government.
So for May 2025, we have an update regarding the previous issue that Jehovah's Witnesses were banned in the Equatorial Guinea. Let's have a look at the development regarding this story.
Jehovah's Witnesses will be able to resume their activities after their leaders apologize to the government. Following several requests submitted by Francisco Escobar Alba, the church's delegate representative in Equatorial Guinea, an agreement has been reached between the government and the religious denomination. The executive's decision comes after several negotiations and apologies offered by the world leaders of this religious denomination. Escobar Alba expressed the repentance of his church, promising that they will continue to preach the word of God peacefully in the country. He also assured that the religious discipline of his church will not again involve acts that violate the laws of the Republic of Equatorial Guinea. In a gesture of reconciliation, he also asked for forgiveness on behalf of his church community. Although the ministry has not specified how long this lifting of the measure that temporarily suspended the activities of Jehovah's Witnesses will last, the decision to resume them marks a step towards the normalization of their mission in the country.
Well, this is interesting. The Jehovah's Witnesses leaders do not apologize, just the spokesman or maybe the representative of a congregation. But it'll be interesting though to see what happens next time. But I can assure you the Jehovah's Witnesses in Equatorial Guinea will do what they did in Australia, the Jehovah's Witnesses in Australia. They will just say, we don't want to do it, but we are forced. We are forced to, or it's a requirement by the government. That's what the Jehovah's Witnesses in Australia did when they had to join the redress scheme to help the CSA victims. They just say, we don't want to be part of this scheme, but we are forced to as a requirement for the government. And they wash their hands. So the month of June, we are back with the Jehovah's Witnesses do best. Let's have a look at the news for this month, June 2025.
The Horrors, Florence. Jehovah's Witness rapes 6 girls, games and car rides, then expulsion from the community. A 42-year-old man has been sentenced to 9 years in prison for abusing girls between the ages of 4 and 11. A 42-year-old man and former member of a Jehovah's Witnesses center in Florence has been sentenced to 9 years for sexually assaulting 6 girls. The girls were between the ages of 4 and 11 at the time of the incident, between 2014 and 2018. The abuses. At the time, the man was a member and frequent visitor of the community on the outskirts of the Tuscan capital before being expelled. According to the investigation, the man allegedly gained the family's trust and thus obtained custody of their children for long afternoons. During these hours together, he allegedly took advantage of the girls. He and the girls would seclude themselves in their cars, in his own apartment, or in the girls' apartment. In some cases, the abuse also occurred on the community premises. He allegedly told one of the victims that it was a game and to remain silent.
And so the month of July 2025 is a month of changes. Let's have a look what happened to the Jehovah's Witnesses during this month.
For years, Jehovah's Witnesses have avoided this practice because it may have had origins in false religion. Therefore, after prayerful consideration, the governing body has concluded that there is no need to make a rule regarding toasting and clinking glasses. Are we saying that toasting is okay now, at all times, and in every situation? Of course not.
What if a disfellowshipped person comes to a congregation meeting? Under our current arrangement, we don't say a greeting to individuals who've been removed from the congregation. However, the governing body has decided that publishers can use their Bible-trained conscience to decide whether to give a simple greeting and welcome a disfellowshipped individual who attends a congregation meeting.
Hi, so good to see you here.
Before we conclude, the governing body has asked me to read the following announcement. The governing body has decided that sisters may choose to wear slacks when participating in the ministry and when attending Christian meetings, assemblies, and conventions. If a sister chooses to wear slacks on such occasions, they should not be casual, but dignified, modest, and appropriate. When a sister has a part on the program, she should wear a skirt or a dress, if that is the standard of dress in that land. Of course, some sisters may choose to wear a skirt or a dress even when they do not have a part on the program. In addition, brothers may choose not to wear a tie or a jacket when participating in the ministry and when attending Christian meetings, assemblies, and conventions. If a brother chooses not to wear a tie or a jacket on such occasions, he should dress in a manner that is appropriate, modest, and dignified, not casual. When a brother has a part on the program, he should wear a tie and a jacket, if that is the standard of dress in that land. Of course, some brothers may choose to wear a tie or a jacket even when they do not have a part on the program.
So for all these 100 freaking years, all these pagan things that we were not allowed to do, toast, say cheese, and many other things that we're not supposed to do. And the governing body here comes and says, it may have some pagan beginning, may have some pagan beginning. Well, all these years they've said it's a pagan celebration. It's a pagan thing. It's a pagan action. Everything, Christmas, birthdays, toasting, saying cheese, say God bless you, everything is wrong. But now they're just saying it may have some connotation, some link, some beginning. What the heck? And now they're allowed to do all that. And again, the Jehovah's Witnesses for 100 years or so, the sisters were not allowed to wear any pants at the Kingdom Hall, at the meetings, or witnessing, but now it's all hunky-dory. I mean, come on. And always the Jehovah's Witnesses governing body will say, we have decided, the governing body have decided, but when the government comes and asks them, are you the ones that makes the decision what the Jehovah's Witnesses can or cannot do? They will go, that will be presumptuous for us to say that. We don't make any decisions. I mean, come on. It's unbelievable. I mean, And you ask Jehovah Witness, is that so? And they go, no. We make our own decisions. No one else makes decisions. It's so full of it. Well, let's have a look what happened in, where are we up to now? August, is it? Yes, August. Let's have a look what happened in August 2025. Here, the Jehovah Witnesses in Germany had a very interesting announcement. And let me say, it's not to make the watchtower or the governing body more transparent in their dealings, in the donations, but let me just show you the translation into English. Let's have a look. This is very juicy. The 3 pages of these announcements and reminders of August 2025 in Germany. But the interesting bits is in point 6 and 7. Let's read it.
Announcements and notices. August 2025. For elders. 6. Adjusted accounting procedures. Revised accounting instructions for assemblies and Kingdom Hall maintenance committees will be published in the coming months. In light of these adjustments, the following adjusted procedures will apply from September 1st, 2025. 1. When the monthly Congregational Financial Report announcement, S30, is read to the congregation, it is no longer necessary to read the sections concerning contributions from the Worldwide Work contribution boxes forwarded to the branch office or the total contributions to date for construction projects. 2. The account clerk is no longer required to sign the monthly Congregational Financial Report and the Kingdom Hall Maintenance Committee Financial Report, S44. 7. Modified forms will be posted along with the revised accounting instructions. The online versions of these forms, available in the accounting section of JW Hub, will be updated accordingly in September. In addition, the funds reserved for special uses section of the online version of these forms will be renamed Major Future Expenditures.
So the total for the Worldwide Work funds is not going to be announced anymore. I wonder why. Put a comment there. I want to see what are you guys thinking. Why are these changes coming up now? And the account clerk is no longer required to sign the monthly congregation's financial report. So no accountability and no transparency. It's funny because the little accountability we used to show and transparency has gone out of the window. It seems like it because they always publish every single cent at the congregation and see how much money the congregations and the assemblies and meetings will donate to the Worldwide Work and to the headquarters. But now that is all no more. You can't see that. All right. So now in September 2025, it has been 10 years, guys. September 25, it has been 10 years when David Splain gave the absurd explanation of the overlapping generation. I mean, it's been long 10 years. Let's roll this video. Let's have a little reminder of this crazy new doctrine.
Would you like an easy way to keep the generation straight? An easy way is to consider the situation of Brother Fred W. Franz. Now, you'll see that he's FWF on the chart. Now, as we said before, Brother Franz was born in 1893. He was baptized in November of 1913. So, as one of the Lord's anointed in 1914, he saw the sign and he understood what the sign meant. Now, Brother Franz lived a long life. He finished his earthly course at 99 years of age in 1992. Now, do you know of many who were of the anointed in 1914 and who outlived Brother Franz? There may have been some, but not many. Now, just for the sake of argument, suppose that we assume that Brother Franz was the last of that first group of anointed ones. That is, the group of anointed ones who were anointed in 1914, who saw the sign, and then continued serving faithfully. Now, we're not saying Brother Franz was. We just don't know. But for the sake of argument, let's suppose. In order to be part of this generation, someone would have had to have been anointed before 1992. Because he would have to have been a contemporary of some of the first group. Now, again, we're not saying that Brother Franz was the last of this group, but we're just using this for the sake of argument as a point of reference. Anyone anointed after 1992 would be of the anointed, but he would not be part of this generation. And Jesus said, this generation will not pass away until all these things happen. Are you beginning to see how this all connects with the urgency of our times?
So let me get this straight. Let's try to explain this a bit more clearer. So we got Goku here. Wait, where is he? We got Goku here. He is from the first generation, 1914, and let's say for argument's sake that he lived up to 1992. And to be part of the Lapi generation, someone who had to be born before 92. So we've got here Mr. Mr. Pikachu. He was born before 1992, so he's part of this overlapping generation that was part of the sign and is part of the generation that Jesus was referring to, this generation. Jesus was not referring to the first apostles when he was talking to them, when he said, this generation will not pass away. The generation that was with him. Oh, no. Jesus did not mean that. They meant these two dudes. Anyway, I think that's a bit clearer. Now that we picture it with Mr. Goku and Mr. Pikachu. So now we have the month of October 2025. Let's have a look what happened here. France is another country from many other countries in Europe that are starting to deregister the Jehovah's Witnesses from the religious or charity status. And the governing bodies is starting to get worried. Let's read the announcement they made at all the congregations in France. So we've got a communication here for October 2025 in France. Let's have a look what development we have.
Communication. October 6th, 2025. For the local assemblies of metropolitan and overseas France. 1. Intention to withdraw our association's religious benefits. On September 15th, 2025, the prefect of Haute-de-Seine officially informed two of our associations, namely the Religious Association of Jehovah's Witnesses of France, ACTJF, and the Christian Federation of Jehovah's Witnesses of France, FCTJF, of his intention to withdraw their benefits as religious associations. This decision is based on reports from the Interministerial Mission for Vigilance and the Fight Against Sectarian Abuses, MIVILUDES, a government body which denounces practices that undermine freedom of association and public order. It notably claimed that members of Jehovah's Witnesses wishing to leave the assembly would suffer ostracism and psychological pressure. 2. Possible repercussions of the loss of this legal recognition. If the religious status of our associations were no longer legally recognized, we could lose the ability to receive legacies and be deprived of the tax benefits we enjoy on donations and property. Even more worrying, the prefect accuses us of breaches of public order, which amounts to accusing us of criminal acts. The Council of Ministers could use this reason to dissolve our religious associations, which would result in the loss of the real estate used for our worship. 3. Letters of protest to the prefect. The branch is taking steps to respond to this intention to withdraw the legal recognition of these two religious associations. If you wish to support this approach, you may consider sending a respectful letter to the prefect of Haute-de-Seine to protest the withdrawal of the religious benefits currently enjoyed by these two associations. This letter should be sent during the week of October 13th. 4. The congregation elders can provide you with the prefect's contact information, as well as information you might want to mention in your letters.
Oh my God, we're going to lose all the properties and we're going to lose the benefits that the government gives us, all the money. We're going to lose all the money. No, this is not possible. We need to fight. We need to protest. We need to send letters. Letters. That's all they like to do, these Jehovah's Witnesses. But of course, they are going to lose the money, the benefits that the France government gives, and of course, they worry about all the properties that they have. So more financial pain for the watchtower in November 2025. Let's have a look what happened here.
Jehovah's Witnesses in court. Victim demands $100 million in compensation. Today, we're examining a recent case that has reached the United States federal court system, involving extremely serious allegations that could have far-reaching it with agents for one of the world's most recognized religious organization. The lawsuit was filed in the Southern District Court of New York and was brought by Estela Pristina Gomes Zusa, a Brazilian woman currently residing in the United Kingdom. According to the court documents, she is seeking compensation that could exceed $100 million, making this one of the most significant individual lawsuits filed against the Jehovah's Witnesses organization in recent years. It's important to emphasize from the very beginning that everything presented here is based on allegations described in the legal proceedings, a public document filed on the November 12, 2025. This investigation presents no conclusion, only described the content of the legal action. Throughout this analysis, we understand who the complainant is, with the accused is what allegedly happened according to the lawsuit on the organization reportedly reacted, and why the case reached the United States even though the events allegedly occurred in Brazil. This is a sensitive investigation and will treat it with responsibility, maintaining focus on the documentation while exploring the broader context of how religious organizations handle their allegations. The local elders must follow detailed instructions, and important disciplinary decisions depend on superior authorization. This point is fundamental to understanding why the lawsuit was filed in the United States. The complaint that decisions related to the case with originated or at least depended on the North American leadership. The local elders must follow detailed instructions, and important disciplinary decisions depend on superior authorization. This point is fundamental to understanding why the lawsuit was filed in the United States. The complaint that decisions related to the case with originated or at least depended on the North American leadership.
So the Watchtower has issues not just with the religion being deregistered, sued, costing them millions of dollars, but their doctrines affects their followers in imaginable ways. Let's see what happened in December 2025.
BBC. Teenage Jehovah's Witness can receive blood transfusion. Judge rules. December 24, 2025. Judge Lady Tate said it was in the child's best interests to allow a possible transfusion, no matter her religious beliefs. A judge has given doctors permission to give a blood transfusion to a teenage Jehovah's Witness, should she need one following an operation. The Court of Session in Edinburgh heard how the 14-year-old girl had told medics that she did not consent to a transfusion even in the event of an emergency because of her religious beliefs. However, lawyers for a Scottish health board had sought an order to allow the procedure to go ahead if the girl's life was at risk. Judge Lady Tate granted the order, saying she was satisfied it was in the child's best interests, giving appropriate weight to her views. According to the religious community's website, Jehovah's Witnesses refuse blood transfusions, saying both the Old and New Testaments say to abstain from blood. A report submitted to Lady Tate assessed the child as having capacity and having a full understanding of the implications of her decision. This prompted the health board to go to the Court of Session to seek an order which would allow its doctors to administer the blood transfusion up to 2 weeks following the child's procedure. Its legal team told Lady Tate that such an order was necessary because blood loss was an inevitable consequence of the operation. Neither the child nor the health board have been identified in the case. Severe consequences. In a written judgment published on Tuesday, Lady Tate said that while the probability of a blood transfusion being required is small, the consequences of it being required but not given would be severe, including a risk of death. She added that there would likely be insufficient time to seek a court order once any risks developed. Lady Tate said any transfusion would be administered only if it was deemed necessary to avoid significant harm, including death. In the judgment, Lady Tate said she wrote an opinion because a Scottish court had not previously considered the issues in the case with respect to people under the age of 16 who had capacity. She wrote about how the Court of Session can authorize treatment for a child who does not have capacity and who cannot consent to medical treatment.
Thank you everyone for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed the recap. I'm sure that I missed some news around the world regarding the Jehovah's Witnesses, but this was the highlights that I managed to get throughout the whole year, and I hope you enjoyed. Let's have a look what we can find for the next year.